Welcome to Silver Screen Recaps, where your favorite movies are summarized in minutes. Please don't forget to like the video and subscribe to the channel. Enjoy the show. The film opens in Oklahoma during the early 20th century. After being forced off their ancestral homelands, the Osage Nation had settled on land that many outsiders considered worthless. But in time, rich oil deposits were discovered under the reservation. The Osage leased drilling rights and, in return, received significant royalties. Overnight, they became some of the wealthiest people in America. They bought cars, built fine houses, wore expensive clothes, and lived lives of relative luxury. Newspapers called them the richest people per capita in the world. Yet the Osage prosperity came with a catch. Federal law declared that many of them were incompetent to manage their own money. The government required them to have white guardians who controlled their finances, creating an unequal system that invited corruption and exploitation. Outsiders moved into Osage County seeking to benefit from the oil wealth. Some came as merchants or businessmen, but others arrived with darker intentions. Amid this backdrop, Ernest Burkhart returns from World War I. A young white man from Texas, Ernest, comes to live with his uncle, William King Hale, in Osage County. King is a powerful cattle rancher, respected by both the white community and, on the surface, by the Osage. He donates to local institutions, poses as a benefactor, and presents himself as a friend to the Osage people. But beneath his genial exterior lies ambition and ruthless calculation. King quickly draws Ernest into his world. He explains that there is opportunity in Osage County, wealth that can be accessed by those clever enough to position themselves correctly. He points out that many Osage women are wealthy due to their oil head rights, and by marrying into these families, white men could connect themselves directly to fortunes. King encourages Ernest to take advantage of this, hinting that it could secure his future. Ernest begins working as a driver for wealthy Osage residents. During this time, he meets Mollie Kyle, a strong and dignified Osage woman who lives with her mother, Lizzie Q, and her sisters. Mollie carries herself with quiet authority and wisdom, though she suffers from diabetes, a serious condition at a time when insulin treatments were still scarce and new. Ernest drives Mollie regularly, and their acquaintance slowly grows into a relationship. Despite her initial caution, Mollie comes to see sincerity in Ernest. Their courtship develops as Ernest becomes a frequent visitor at Mollie's family home. Mollie has several sisters: Minnie, who is married; Anna, who is more free-spirited and struggles with alcohol; and Rita, who is married to Bill Smith. The family's oil wealth makes them prominent in the community. King Hale takes a close interest in Ernest's growing connection to Mollie, seeing it as part of a broader plan. He explains to Ernest that if Mollie's family members were to suffer misfortunes, her inheritance would grow, and with Ernest as her husband, the wealth would be tied to them. Tragedy begins to strike. Mollie's sister Minnie falls ill and dies unexpectedly, despite showing no prior signs of serious sickness. The family is devastated, though doctors call it natural causes. Soon after, Anna is found shot in the head and left in a ravine. Her death sends shockwaves through the Osage community. Rumors of foul play spread quickly, but the local sheriff does little to investigate. Many suspect that the white authorities are ignoring the crimes, or even complicit in covering them up. Despite the growing shadow of violence, Ernest and Mollie marry. Their union seems to symbolize love, but in reality, it also advances King Hale's hidden agenda. Mollie trusts Ernest, believing in his affection and loyalty, even as deaths continue to thin her family. Their mother, Lizzie Q, also falls ill and dies, likely from poison, though the official explanation is natural decline. One by one, Mollie's closest relatives are being eliminated, each death pushing more head rights into Mollie's name. The pattern extends beyond Mollie's family. Across Osage County, wealthy Osage are being killed in suspicious ways: poisonings, shootings, and even house bombings. The violence is so frequent that it becomes known among the Osage as the Reign of Terror. Fear spreads, but the local authorities, heavily influenced by white power brokers like King Hale, dismiss the deaths or fail to act. Insurance companies and guardians quietly benefit, while the Osage community suffers profound losses. Meanwhile, Mollie's health worsens. Her diabetes requires constant insulin, and she grows weaker over time. Ernest, under King's instructions, begins mixing her treatments with other substances. Mollie becomes increasingly bedridden, unaware that her own husband is contributing to her decline. She senses something is wrong, but her trust in Ernest blinds her to the truth. As the killings mount, Osage leaders petition the federal government. Their pleas eventually reach Washington, D.C., where officials recognize the pattern of violence and corruption. The Bureau of Investigation, a relatively new agency, sends agents to Oklahoma to look into the murders. Tom White, a former Texas Ranger, is assigned to lead the case. He arrives discreetly with a small team, determined to uncover the truth. Unlike the compromised local sheriffs, White and his men begin to build trust with the Osage. They quietly gather evidence, interview witnesses, and trace financial connections. Their investigation reveals a clear pattern. Osage individuals with valuable head rights are being targeted, and white men, often through marriage or guardianship, are set to inherit their wealth. Many of the crimes link back to individuals connected to William Hale. White's team identifies several hired gunmen and accomplices who carried out the murders. Some planted bombs, others committed shootings, and still others poisoned their victims. When pressed, some of these men admit that they were acting under orders from Hale, often with Ernest's knowledge or involvement. The investigation reveals just how widespread and organized the conspiracy truly is. During this period, Mollie's health continues to deteriorate. In an effort to save her, she travels to Washington, D.C. for medical treatment. Away from Hale's influence, she receives pure insulin and stabilizes, improving for the first time in years. This recovery makes it clear that she had been given tainted treatments while in Oklahoma. Mollie begins to accept the grim possibility that her trust in Ernest was misplaced, though her emotions remain conflicted. The Bureau eventually arrests several suspects, including Ernest and King Hale. Under interrogation, Ernest initially lies to protect his uncle. He claims ignorance of the larger conspiracy, presenting himself as a loyal husband. But the mounting evidence, combined with pressure from investigators, breaks him down. Torn between guilt and fear, Ernest begins to confess. He admits to his role in the poisoning of Mollie's medicine and acknowledges his knowledge of the broader plot against her family. The case goes to trial, attracting national attention. For many Americans, it is their first glimpse into the systemic exploitation of the Osage and the scale of corruption in Osage County. Witnesses testify about the bombings, the murders, and the financial motives behind them. The prosecution paints Hale as the mastermind, a man who presented himself as a friend to the Osage while orchestrating their deaths for profit. Ernest becomes a key witness. His testimony against Hale helps secure a conviction, though it also condemns himself. The betrayal is devastating for Mollie, who attends the proceedings with quiet dignity. She sees the man she loved confess to aiding in her suffering and in the destruction of her family. Though Ernest claims he loved her, his actions reveal otherwise. Hale is sentenced to life in prison, his reputation as a benevolent leader destroyed. Ernest, too, faces disgrace and estrangement. Mollie, though she survives, cannot return to the life she once knew with Ernest. Their marriage is broken beyond repair. The film closes with a reflection on how the crimes were later remembered. A staged radio play dramatizes the events, reducing the tragedy into entertainment for a national audience. The broadcast trivializes the suffering of the Osage, illustrating how easily their pain was overshadowed by sensationalism. In the film's final moments, the emphasis is on the resilience of the Osage Nation. Despite the reign of terror and the devastating losses, the Osage endured. Their community and culture have survived, carrying their traditions forward into the present. The story remains a haunting chapter in American history, a reminder of how greed, racism, and corruption left lasting scars on an entire people